Hey, what's up, Video School? Phil Ebener here. I just hit the upload button for the latest creative project that I'm working on for my personal channel. And I figured while it's uploading, I would do another director's commentary, just talking about the process, some of the tools that I'm using for the video. So I'll link to the video below for sure. I would recommend checking it out. Maybe pausing this video and watching that one ahead of time. But let's just get into it. The premise of this video was the world is an oxymoron, and just kind of thinking about how big the world seems, how small the world seems. And it was predicated or inspired by this photo that I came about looking through an archive of photos. You'll hear more about it in the video itself, but basically when I studied abroad in Germany in college over a decade ago, I carved my initials into a tree and a heart with my wife's initials, and I wondered, is that still there? So let's get into the video. I'm going to skip around, just talk about some of the parts of the process, and let's get to it. The world is a big place, and at the same time, it's a small one. Have you ever felt the same? All right, so first off, that shot, obviously I did not get that shot. I didn't make that shot. I've been using Storyblocks, which I signed up for. Not sponsored. I just started using that because I needed a place to find more stock footage for these kinds of projects, just to make them a little bit more visually creative, interesting, and easier on me than trying to create that sort of visual from scratch. So I got that shot of the Earth and added the titles, just a simple sort of fade on by character effect in After Effects to get that title. In one moment, you feel as if you're an insignificant small blip in the rotation of the universe. This is like a pretty simple animation that I did. A bunch of different layers here. I do have an image of the night sky that has a different blend mode onto a background, made that little Earth icon that I use in a few different things. So this is mostly stuff that I created, adding some effects there to make it blip on and off. Big world. In another, so here's that same Earth that I pre-comped in After Effects. And if you don't know what that means, I'll make another tutorial about this, or if you're interested in After Effects, definitely check out some of my other tutorials or classes. But you basically can create, a composition or if you're used to Premiere Pro, it's more like a nest of multiple layers that you can reuse over and over. I've got the paper texture, which is in the background that I'm using for a lot of my videos on my personal channel, just trying to come up with a style so that when people do watch my videos, they get that sense. Realize how similar we all are around this Earth, with the same hopes, dreams, and fears. Small world. Yet in another, you realize that there's countless places and people you'll never get to meet, across oceans or right down the street. So here's an animation that I made. I'm not really much of a designer or an illustrator, so I have to really simplify things if I want to create them from scratch. I've done projects where I get to work with amazing designers and illustrators to create things that maybe are a little bit more visually interesting. But sometimes I also think paring it down and making it the most basic shapes or iconography is totally fine. So the point I was trying to get across with this animation was that we are going down our lives' paths, and sometimes they cross, but sometimes they don't. And I was just trying to imagine, like, we have a couple different people here in this graphic where this circle and square, their path takes them all over the place. Same with this dark green one. but they never cross paths. And then same with these two, where I am just imagining visually on like a map, like this is a person that just goes to work, comes back, goes to the office, comes back, goes to the grocery store, comes back. This person just stays in their little bubble and never goes out of it. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just this idea that I had that like, there's people that live down the street from me that I have never met, never seen someone in certain houses come outside or things like that. And I just wonder what their life is. At the same time, there's billions of people on the other side of the world that have these life paths, and my path likely will never cross them. And maybe, you know, someone doesn't get that idea or the intricacy of this idea in this short little graphic, but hopefully it adds a little bit of flavor to what I'm saying. And that's what I'm trying to do with this channel and my videos moving forward, is really visualizing the thoughts that I have. And yet in another, you realize that we have the power, the tools at our fingertips to connect with someone on the opposite side of the globe, crossing two random paths for a moment, making this a smaller world. So here I'm using that same imagery of a path cross, or someone's life path, but here it's crossing and it's sort of interweaving. And you know, you go through your life path, and then maybe a little bit for a little short time, or maybe for a long time, two paths cross. And that's some imagery that I'll use throughout the video. Let me tell you a story that illustrates this in a randomly romantic way. To set the scene properly, we need to back up. Way back. A little further. So I'm trying to use a little bit of comedic timing and comedic effect to make my videos a little bit lighter. I don't know if it comes across or not. I don't really think of myself as a comedian or that funny in general. I mean, even storytelling wise, one of the reasons I'm super excited about this channel and what I'm doing with my Instagram account right now is really trying to improve my personal storytelling, whether that's through writing or through talking about telling my stories. And this has been a fun practice. This timer, or this countdown, instead of, you know, it's a pretty simple thing. I could have just created a few titles that, you know, cut from 2020, 2019, 2018, but this is actually an effect in After Effects called the numbers effect, I believe. And you can keyframe it so that you can have it go from a specific date to another date, or a number to another number. There's lots of formats. And at first I had it with the full date, like February 14th, 2021, going back to August, whatever, 20th, 2009. But it just didn't look as neat, and sometimes simplifying visually the things that you do is actually more impactful. August 2009. I was leaving for a semester abroad in Bonn, Germany. Several months prior, I had fallen madly in love with a good friend from college. So here's just a stock After Effects template, something that I wanted to add that style or that vibe of something in the past. And it's available on Storyblocks. Again, not sponsored. It's just you can find these sort of templates on lots of different places, and some are free out there, but it adds a more visually pleasing sense to this video rather than just popping up a few different photos. Spoiler alert, she's now my wife. At the time, I arrived in Bonn with a heavy heart, sad to be missing the girl I had fallen for. All right, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. If you're enjoying the video, I definitely recommend checking it out. Here's kind of a cool animation. I'm thinking I might put together just a little tutorial on this map animation. Super simple, but something that I've taught before in a lot of classes, but I think people are always interested in these kind of map animations. In Friesdorf, just south of Bonn, where I lived with my host family, I took many walks just exploring, just wandering, looking around, taking photos, thinking about life. So these are two different things going on. The background map animation was all After Effects, just a couple shapes with a stroke that has a trim path animation with a little bit of a glow effect. It's blend moded on. Is that a word? So it has a certain blend mode on to make it highlight instead of just like the color. I think blend modes are great for that in the sense that if you want two layers to sort of come together and become one, as if one is on top of the other, rather than like just two separate layers, that's a good thing to think about. But it's also something to be careful of if you use too many, and maybe I go a little overboard. And then these photos popping on is just a random selection of photos actually from the person that helped me with this task that I'm about to talk about in the video. And I just have them rotating in a Premiere Pro nest and just a scale effect zooming up, and it's just repeating, and I try to get it to the beat of the music. Where I lived with my host family, I took many walks just exploring, just wandering, looking around, taking photos, thinking about life. So kind of cool. All right, so here let's go talk about where I carved this. Here's another little trim paths animation knife or something. And I carved our initials into one of those trees. So a little trim path animation added a wiggle to the text and also to the stroke. So it just adds a little bit of more animation style to it. So Isabel came and we went on a long walk up to that tree, and I surprised her with it, and it was great. All right, so yeah, pretty standard stuff. So the question I have is, does that tree still exist? So I went on the Photography and Friends group and asked if anyone lives near Bonn and would want to join me on a super secret Bonn spy adventure and try to find it. And someone did, Abhishek, who I'm super thankful for. And he goes out on this mission to find this tree. Here is, let me rewind just a little bit, play back this part where I come back to that visualization of our life paths crossing. Secret romantic adventure. It's wild to think about the billions of storylines happening right now in every moment. Yet, two of these storylines could cross paths in a moment of chance. Same exact image, creating a connection and a shared plot line. And this is happening all of the time in countless ways. But then I added this one, and it looks super intricate, but really it's just duplicating the effect that I had already created, layering it on top of each other, adding a rotation to it, and you get this super intricate life path crossing graphic. The world is big. The world is small. I didn't have to wait long to see if my agent had completed his mission. All right, so I think I'm gonna cut it off there. I know that's maybe a little bit of a cliffhanger, but I think it's better if you are watching this for the first time to go watch the actual video. I'm hoping that the emotional sort of ramping up to get to this point can be seen in that video. And I think with the music and everything, I tried to use music that goes along, adds emotion to it. All my music is from Epidemic Sound. So again, just using the tools that are available to us as creators nowadays. Storyblocks is amazing. I'm getting the stock footage. I'm getting some graphics and illustrations from them. I'm getting sound effects. I'm getting the After Effects templates, and that's all for one monthly fee. And then Epidemic Sound, same thing, is unlimited music for a membership, which 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, these opportunities or these options weren't really a thing. So it's really cool, the features we have, and what I could really make from my home. This was made from my house with stock footage, with old video, with After Effects. And I think it's a pretty visually pleasing and interesting video. Hopefully you think the same. Go watch it. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment, and hopefully you can subscribe to that channel too, because I'll be putting out more interesting videos like this one, whether it's story-wise interesting or visually interesting if you're a video creator. All right, thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, and we'll see you in another video. Bye.